Hello, hello. Well, I saw WrestleMania 40 last night, and I think it truly is my favorite WrestleMania of all time. I remember the very first one I watched. It was WrestleMania 23. And when I say watched, I mean I saw the highlights of it on YouTube. That's when Batista fought The Undertaker and John Cena fought Shawn Michaels. That was my first one. The last WrestleMania I saw before this new era started was WrestleMania 30. Yes. It was when Daniel Bryan won against Batista and Randy Orton for the WWE and I believe World Heavyweight Championship, if my memory serves me correct. But that was the last time because my boy, my personal GOAT, greatest of all time, the best in the world, the straight edge savior, CM Punk. I'm gonna get a notification. It's so bad. I'm recording. I forgot to put it on mute. Hold on. Okay. All right. There we go. All right. There we go. All right. Okay. We're still good? Okay, that's good. My GOAT, CM Punk, had left. And, when he left, because I was really, really getting into him when he started entering this Wolverine phase. And I was like, I'm looking forward to Raw. Each week I would look forward to him, and then my hype got so charged up and the crowd was chanting his name, he never showed up. And that made me realize he truly was my favorite wrestler. Because my first, I'm rambling, but forgive me. I will get to the point. But let me just talk about this for a second, okay? Okay. All right, anyway. So my first favorite wrestler was Batista. Dave Batista. When I first saw him, it was like these promos. And, I would just, have dinner with family. And I never cared for wrestling. I always thought it was fake and gay. And, why are these guys in their underwear doing this? I was a dude that was into Dragon Ball Z, Justice League, Batman, DC Comics, stuff like that. And, Friday Night SmackDown was like the last thing because I never cared for sports. I never cared for football, soccer, or anything like that. I kind of just put wrestling into that amalgamation, but I knew it was scripted, but I just put in that same category of stuff that I just didn't give, two squirts of urine about. So, week to week, I would, have to go to the living room. I was very young. I would have to go to the living room and, just eat my dinner and whatnot. And, we didn't have phones back then, so the only thing that was on was the television and there'd be wrestling on. So, out of like casual boredom, while I'm eating, I would just glance over at the TV like, oh, okay. And then there came a point, this is so crazy. There came a point where I caught myself being invested in the story. It was a Batista storyline, I think, between him and Mark Henry. And I got sucked in. And it was like, I can't believe that happened to me. Like, now that I'm talking about it, I'm thinking about it, like, I feel like I got hypnotized. I guess that's called a work nowadays, but I was like, one day I was totally like against it. Well, it's not like one day, it was like a process. It was like a grooming process. But it's weird how I was so like against it, and then I just totally fell in love with it. It was so wild that even happened. But yeah, so Batista. And then my second favorite wrestler, Chris Jericho, the Y2J. Chris Jericho when he returned in 2007. That return stuck with me. I didn't know who the hell he was, but when I saw that return, I was like, ooh, man, that's so badass. This guy's cool. I want him to interact with DX and John Cena, but face, this nice guy, good guy version of Jericho, and not the what I would eventually see be one of the greatest heels of all time would be heel Jericho in the suit and tie. That complete gimmick change, and I thought that was like I was so empathetic towards him because, you know, when he was saying like the crowd would throw trash at him and like I got worked. I was like, why would they do that to him? He's such a cool guy. Why would you be mean to him? And then I went to a heel, and I thought like, man, he really turned bad because people were dicks, and I just followed his character, and became one of my favorites. His mic work was just amazing. And then third, it was kind of a similar situation a little bit with CM Punk because during his promos, and one of these promos is one of the reasons why I'm straight edge to this day. But I've done acid and weed before from like occasionally like little spurts, but it's because of him that I didn't become like I don't drink, I still don't smoke or anything like that. So but yeah, it was something where he was talking about like drug use, and it made sense to me. Like he's the good guy, but the crowd was booing him, and Jeff Hardy was like the addict and druggy. But I would never hold that against him or anything. He seemed like just a guy that wanted to compete, but it was so weird to me that the crowd would cheer against like being drug free or whatever, and that confused me. And that was the same thing like what happened to Jericho. I was like, man, I like CM Punk. All these people are bugging out. I didn't like the straight edge savior gimmick. I liked how he was a little bit before, and then he just totally became my favorite when he became Pipe Bomb Phil. When he became Pipe Bomb Phil, CM Punk, Mr. Pipe Bomb, he was just like, I was like, where was this guy? Because he's saying, because I hated John Cena at the time, and he would just say things that was on my mind, but he would do it in such an epic way. It was like, man, and as to touch on me hating on Cena again, then The Rock came back. When he came back, I was already a fan of his. I saw The Rundown, I saw Walking Tall, I saw Doom. And I was like, this guy's good. This guy's pretty good, and especially The Rundown. That was like back then. That was one of my favorite Rock movies. I didn't care for Scorpion King too much, but back then The Rundown was like one of my favorites. And then seeing him come back and give Cena the business on the microphone, I was like, oh yes. So he was like my fourth favorite, like in order of appearance. It was Batista, Chris Jericho, CM Punk, and then The Rock came in. And then sometime, and I felt so good when The Rock defeated John Cena. That felt so good. But then Dean Ambrose, and I liked him because he was a smaller guy, but he was like tough, scrappy. I do not like John Moxley. That character is a mess. But Dean Ambrose is cool. He's like the Fonz, but just a funnier like Breakfast Clubby type of cat. I don't know. It's just something I was just endeared to him, especially like his verbal bouts with Cena. Um, he was like to me, he was like Daniel Bryan's Randy Orton. Um, and it was just like one of those things where he was like a Vegeta or so this is so cringe saying like a Sasuke to like Daniel Bryan's like Naruto, Goku, whatever. That's very cringe and weeby for me to say, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from when I say that. But yeah, so to go down the list again is Batista, Chris Jericho, CM Punk, The Rock, and Dean Ambrose. Right now, Dean Ambrose was in there. He was putting in that work, and he was the reason I would watch. he was the last vestige of pro wrestling talent that kept me watching, you know. And I won't lie, Cena too, because I hated him so much to a point that I eventually started to respect him. Because when you want to see someone, when you tune in every week, you start hating someone. You're like, I don't want to see him no more. Get him out. And then you hate them some more. Like, okay, I just want to see someone beat him up. Why isn't no one beating him? So you just tune in to see him get beat up or something. And it's like, wow, John Cena really makes you feel. He really makes you feel these emotions, whether you love him or hate him, and that's very valuable. But anyway, when John Moxley left, I think Cena left. I just felt like there was nothing left for me. I was like, okay, you know what? This is good. I'm gonna leave wrestling alone, and I moved on with my life. I did not give two squirts of urine about who wins what championship. I just left it. It was just completely dismissed from my brain. Like the last image of wrestling I had was Dean Ambrose wearing like a gas mask or something, and yeah, I just moved on. Hold on, let me just had to get some water. My mouth feels hydrated. Anyway, so yeah, when Dean Ambrose left, I kind of like put wrestling behind me, and I was like, okay, I can move on from this. It's run its course, and for years and years, I just moved on without it. Just did my own thing, looking at other forms of entertainment, and then one day, I think 2021, 2022, I think 2021. CM Punk returns to professional wrestling. I remember the moment that I saw that shit when I saw him on a thumbnail. I was just scrolling YouTube one day randomly. I was like, wait, what? I was like, no, I just automatically thought it was like a troll, like it was fake. Like it just randomly popped up out of nowhere. Um, I know he showed up to do like commentary and like Fox, like a side show, which I think that was really cool because it kind of put him a little bit back into the zeitgeist a bit, like kind of put him back into the thoughts of like WWE fans. I did pop in for that, but when he left, when Punk left, I tuned out again. But anyway, so when I saw him at this AEW show, I was like, AEW, what is this? So also, I was like, you know what? I don't know what this AEW is. I don't care if it's like a basement wrestling place, and it clearly wasn't. I was like, wow, this is not WWE, and this venue looks pretty big. I'm gonna watch wrestling again just for Punk. I didn't know what AEW was. I was like, I'm gonna watch it just because this guy is back. And I was so happy hearing his speech, and I was like, okay, let's go, let's go. I'm in it now. I'm so in it. I don't know who Darby Allin is. I know who Sting is, but I'm gonna watch it. And then from then on in, I got into wrestling again, and I learned a little bit more about AEW as Punk's tenure went along. He got injured a couple times, so when he left, I didn't leave because I knew he would come back. So I would stay and watch the product, and I would see talented wrestlers like MJF, Ricky Starks, people that are not really well known in the mainstream wrestling scene, but they're really really cool. They got something in there, and I've known about Cody Rhodes for a while, but didn't care. Notice he got booed viciously in AEW, but I chalked it up to, okay, this is their John Cena, because everything he was doing, he seems like a good guy, seems like a good person, but for whatever reason, they just don't like him. And then um, one day, I don't know if I got the timeline right. I want to say Cody Rhodes joined WWE while CM Punk was still with AEW. I don't care to look, not right now. But I thought that was like, wow, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. When I heard that, I checked it out, and I guess because Cody Rhodes was in AEW and he just popped up in WWE. I was like, you know what? I want to see what's gonna happen next with this. Like, what are they gonna do with him? Because he was booed in this company, but I see people cheering for him like crazy at WrestleMania, and I'm like, okay, so it's just a novelty that he's back, but that will wear off, and it didn't. And I was just kind of like one foot in AEW, watching Punk do his thing, another foot in WWE, watching Cody do his thing, and all the drama with Punk and the Young Bucks, the Elite, and um, I'm glad I don't remember his name, but Jack Perry. That made me so invested in it because I thought it was gonna be a work, but it wasn't. It was like real. It was just real backstage problems. But in my mind, Punk didn't do anything wrong. I could get that could be a whole other video, but when it's broken down, incident by incident, it's like these guys were kind of in the wrong. I mean, I'm not saying Punk is completely innocent, but these guys, they're in the wrong too. Um, and then when he got, I assume he got fired, but I just found out recently he really quit. But when I thought he got fired, I was like, you know what? Fuck AEW. I'm not watching this no more. And I didn't. But I was glad that his last match was with Samoa Joe and he won. And then I stopped watching. But that's not entirely true because I was like, because of the feud he had with MJF, I was like, this MJF kid is so good. This kid is so good. So I was like, I would occasionally like watch whatever MJF was doing. I would definitely ignore the elites. Fuck those guys. But whatever MJF is doing, I would just basically stalk him in AEW, like watching the TV, not like in real life, but like just see him do his thing, and occasionally, just bounce back a little bit in WWE for Cody, and then there came a point when I think I was happy when Samoa Joe beat MJF. That was great, but yeah, I was happy about that because I feel like Samoa Joe's a CM Punk guy. He's one of the ROH originals. I feel like, I don't know. It just felt like CM Punk won, even though Samoa Joe won. So that's why I was like, okay, I'm going to tune into AEW now. And then there was a rumor that CM Punk was going to return to the WWE. And I was like, okay, I don't know if this is fake or not, but now I definitely want it to happen. And if it doesn't happen, I will never watch wrestling again. I will never watch again. And it turns out it was real. I had the same same reaction. I was like, "What? Is that? He really came back? Oh shit!" And now, CM Punk and Cody Rhodes was in WWE. So at this point, I really had virtually no reason to watch AEW anymore. But again, that's not entirely true because to this day, I still occasionally just see what Samoa Joe is doing. That's it. I just see what Samoa Joe is doing. And admittedly, I want to see what the Young Bucks are going to do for this Wednesday. What they're apparently going to reveal footage of the backstage altercation between Punk and Perry because it's very childish of them, but I'm not going to lie. I'm going to tune in. I'm going to tune in to see that. So, but all this to say is that there were many times when I thought wrestling was lame. There were times when I walked away. But Cody Rhodes and CM Punk, definitely CM Punk, made me into wrestling again. And I'm definitely excited to see what the future holds for both of those men. And I hope MJF comes to WWE. I think he's better in AEW. But if he stays in AEW, he definitely elevates that company a lot. He definitely does. But most importantly for me, I just care about what happens next for Cody and CM Punk, because those guys have gotten me back into professional wrestling. Oh, yeah.